that Royal Roads lives, learns, and works on the traditional lands of the Kosepsum and Lekwungen ancestors and families who've lived here for thousands of years. So we're really grateful to be able to do the work that we're able to do, even if many of us are working from home right now from different locations. So if we can all take a moment just to acknowledge where we are today, that would be wonderful. So today we're going to be chatting with some of our wonderful students and alumni who have taken the Master of Arts in Tourism Management program or are still taking the program right now. My name is Christy Jones and I'm an education advisor at the university, and I'm thrilled to be joined to some wonderful other folks. So we have Dr. Rebecca Wilson-Mah, who is the program head for this program, who will be moderating our discussion and taking us through a bit of the program information a little later on. And then we are also joined by some students and alumni who will be introducing later on in the session as well. So we have Gio Malcolm, Memeh, and Erin Sinclair. And a few folks you can't see behind the scenes too. I'll just quickly mention, we have Imera, who is helping with some tech backup support today. So if you're having any tech challenges, feel free to just type into the chat box and we can try and help you troubleshoot from there. And then we also have Anne Catherine McLean from the School of Tourism, who's here to help out with answering any questions that come up that you have in the chat box as well. And then I believe we may also have Rhonda White. Yes, she's here, joining from our enrollment team again to help support us in the chat box today. So to go through our agenda, we're going to take you through a brief overview of the Royal Roads University experience, then an overview of the MATM program, and then we're going to begin our panel conversation. So this conversation will be a bit more focused on the panel today, but we can also send out a recording later on if you're looking for a bit more in-depth information on the program, the different types of courses, those sorts of things as well. So if you have never been to our campus, here's a little snapshot of it. Again, many of us haven't been able to be here for a while, but we hope that will change soon enough. So the top left-hand corner, so it's really a main focal point of the campus. It was built in the early 1900s, and normally it's used as a working building. There are folks working in there right now, actually, and it's also used for other projects like film projects and things like that. We host some classes in there and events, so it really is a wonderful hub of the campus. The top right-hand corner, we have the Japanese gardens. So kind of adjacent to Hatley Castle there, we have a whole network of manicured gardens. So the Japanese gardens is just one of them, but we also have the rose gardens, Italian gardens, a croquet lawn, lots of beautiful places for you to explore and check out. And the bottom left-hand photo there is the Sherman Gen building. It's a very beautiful, relatively new building for our campus. And you may have some classes here if we are able to get back on campus soon, whether you're taking a blended or on-campus program. And then the bottom right-hand corner, it's just more of an ode to the fact that we've been doing online learning for over 25 years now. So it's really an integral part to who we are. So we hope that even if you don't become a student with us, you are welcome to come and explore this campus when it's safe to do so. And we welcome you to come, see a little bit more of who we are. And we're also an Ashoka U Changemaker campus. So this is a designation that's been given to a select number of institutions, and we're very proud of it. It means the type of education that we provide is very entrepreneurial, it's very solutions oriented, and it's very interdisciplinary as well. And these aspects are really represented in this program as well and infused into all of our programs. So we're really excited to talk a little bit more about this program specifically. And with that, I will hand it over to you, Rebecca, to take us through a few quick slides on the program at a glance for everyone.
All right. Thank you very much, Christy. And so, hello, everyone. It's a pleasure to have a chance to chat with you today and to talk about the MATM. So our program, we have three options. The first one is we have our on-campus MA in Tourism Management. And the on-campus program does also include some online options. It's really a blend of the two, but it's primarily our on-campus. And then we have our blended program. So this program is primarily online. It's designed to be that way. And it includes some residencies. on campus here at Royal Roads. And we also have our graduate certificate. So many students join our program through our graduate certificate, which is a 9-credit course. And you can complete the graduate certificate and move on, or you can then continue with your graduate certificate into the MATM, and everything that you do in the graduate certificate counts towards your master's degree. All right, so here we have just an overview of the core courses and the electives. And I think at the very core level of our program, we have 6 core courses that are on the left-hand side of this table, and then we have 6 tourism elective courses. And you'll note on the right-hand side of the table, there's a little note, other elective options available. We do have other electives across the university that are available for those of you that might be interested in particular areas. So lots of flexibility with our program, with a real core focus, of course, on tourism management. All right, so we're going to talk a little bit. I'm moving fairly quickly here. We can certainly talk about, we will touch on some of these things in our conversation with our panel members in some ways. And of course, you can always contact myself or Anne-Catherine or anyone on the team for further information and details. But here we're looking at the completion options. So with the blended program and our on-campus MATM, we offer 3 ways to complete your graduate degree. The first way is to complete a thesis. So this is more of the traditional approach. Many master's programs end with a thesis, which is a focused piece of research. You work with a thesis advisor. Our thesis is 12 credits. And your completion would be a 12 credit thesis, and then 2 elective courses that you complete in your second year. The other completion option is the major research project. You'll notice that this is 9 credits rather than 12. It is a research project. You would complete this option and 3 additional elective courses. The major research project, we have all kinds of projects that people do. Tourism, of course, is a very broad interdisciplinary area, and our students take their major research project and their thesis, of course, in all different directions, and looking at perhaps sustainability or social entrepreneurship, looking at marketing, looking at tourism education, looking, of course, business management, all kinds of areas. And then the last way to complete your master's degree with us is to take the capstone course approach. And that is the course-based option. So in this case, you would say, I'm going to complete my degree through courses rather than through a research project of a thesis or a major research project. And so the capstone course is 3 credits, and you also, in addition to that, would complete 5 elective courses. So there's a quick summary of our different completion options.
Wonderful. Thank you, Rebecca. And with that, I'm going to stop sharing my screen and we can begin the panel discussion.
All right. Lovely. Great. Well, I'm going to have a conversation with 2 of our panel members today, with Giovanni Malcolm and with Erin Sinclair. So I welcome you both to the panel conversation. Thank you so much. And you know, our session today is here to help those of you on the call to get a sense of the experiences of our Royal Roads students. And so Gio graduated in 2019. So I talked to Gio, he's graduated in that year, and Erin is currently completing the blended program, and Erin is in the research stages. So I just want to mention that before we get started. So I'm going to ask you a question first, Gio. So Gio, you graduated in 2019. You have your MATM and a first degree in business administration. So how has the Masters in Tourism Management complemented your previous degree and your past experience in different industries? You have a lot of experience behind you.
Thanks, Rebecca, and welcome everyone. Thank you for having me this morning, Rebecca,
You're
and
welcome.
always putting me on the spot as usual. But I'm very happy to be here. When I first started the MATM, I was a little concerned about, where it could take me, based on my background. I started in, banking and finance, and I went into sales and project management. My passion at that time was also HR and change management. And when I started thinking about the program that I wanted to do, I think 13 years ago, I applied for a school in Switzerland to do tourism, and lots of things happened. We were back home in Jamaica. So yes, guys, I exchanged one island paradise of Jamaica to come to Victoria, another island paradise. And my wife was in banking at that time for 15 years. She got pregnant with our first and only child, and and got a big promotion in the bank. And so we put off going to Switzerland. I went there for 1 month and then came back home,
Mm.
and since then I've been yearning to to get back into what my real passion is creating experiences for people. So I started looking around, asking questions about where could I do this program, and then I ended up in Vancouver. And that happened by chance because, well, I wouldn't say by chance. It was deliberate because we were looking for the warmest part of Canada. And and I remember when we decided to come, it hadn't snowed in Vancouver for must have been 20 years. And as soon as we decided to come, snow. And my wife was like, wait a minute, I thought you said it didn't snow here, So, what the MATM program has done for me, though, is really, really concretize, my business studies, and then trying to apply, what I did a lot of in business now with creating experiences for people. And the role that I have now in and I guess we'll talk a little bit more, is now helping creating experiences while looking at the business aspect. So it's created a nice blend for me. And I will talk a little bit more about that as we progress. But certainly a journey. And as we go through, I'm sure Rebecca will bring some of those things out.
Well, thank you very much, Gio. That's really interesting, that connection with business and creating experiences, and certainly the industry really looks for people that can do that, right? That can really think about the experience side of the equation.
Yeah.
So that certainly resonates with me when I hear you say that. So thank you for sharing a little bit about what got you here in the program in the past. And over to Erin. Erin, welcome, Erin. Great to see you.
Thanks for that.
You're welcome. In your bio, Erin, I learned that you have 10 plus years of work experience in hospitality, and that after working at Jasper Park Lodge, wow, what a beautiful place, I must say. After working at Jasper Park Lodge, you decided to apply for the MATM. Mm-hmm. So can you tell us a little bit more about what prompted that decision at that time?
Yeah, definitely. Absolutely. So actually, I have a similar background to Gio. I did my undergrad in a BCom, a general business degree. And so I graduated back in 2017. And I didn't know what I was going to do with that degree. So I moved out to Jasper Park Lodge. I bartended there, and actually what I loved so much about that experience was, firstly, such a beautiful destination. How can you not love it? But it was really the customer engagement and that engagement that I got to have with everyone that got me so passionate. And whether it was talking about where they should go next, what hike they should do, really like tailoring their Jasper experience to each individual customer, because everyone's so different. And when I finally left Jasper, I knew that I wanted to be in tourism. I knew that was what I was missing from my business degree, was that tie to something that I was really passionate about, which I didn't know was tourism at the time. So I did my research and I found this program at Royal Roads. not really having known too much about the school beforehand, but I knew it was where I wanted to apply. And I knew that the experience would really help me get to that next step. Now, as I also mentioned in my bio, I'm looking for marketing, more marketing experience, and I really want to integrate that with destination marketing and DMOs. And this program's been such a strong asset to giving me the confidence, the tools. As you guys mentioned, this is such a applied program and degree, which is so great. Every course has a link to another, and you can really make it what you want to be. Within this program, everyone comes from all different fields within tourism, and it's really exciting to be able to specialize what makes you happy and passionate into this program. So.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Erin. That's really interesting. Yes, I'm hearing again that connection with connecting with experiences and finding a way to really bring yourself to advance that element. I mean, speaking for myself too, I've always had that connection, to help enrich people's lives and experiences in some way. And of course, that's a wonderful element of the tourism sector generally, and what draws many of us to it. Thank you, and welcome, Ada. It's so lovely to see you today. How are you?
Very well, thank you. Good morning.
Good morning, Ada. Congratulations on your recent completion of the MATM. You'll be graduating in June. Yay, congratulations. Ada, you have an MBA from the University of Lagos and your BA in economics. Mm-hmm. And I think there may be some people on the call who also have previous degrees. So as with other people on the panel, previous degrees. So my question for you, just to get started here, is how did the MATM fit with your past education and experience? What was your experience with that?
Okay, so coming from Nigeria, Lagos to be specific, like you mentioned, my first degree was in economics, and I had thought all the while I was growing up that I was going to end up in the bank, but for some reason I ended up in the travel industry, starting my career as a flight attendant, and I just fell in love with that industry. It brought out a side of me I had never seen before. Traveling and meeting people was on another level for me. And I decided to pursue that career. And after traveling for a while, I decided to check out the marketing angle, which is the business angle of that industry. Mm-hmm. And then I joined the marketing unit of the airline, and then decided to up my game by going for an MBA, just to have a business background to it as well. And after that, my portfolio increased. I got more assignments, passed on. And that included working with state governments to develop destinations. And I had no clue about that. So I had to learn on the job with my seniors, so to speak, in the industry. And I was really enjoying the process,
Yeah.
After a while, I decided to try my hands in the entrepreneurship aspect of that business, trying to see what I could do on my own. So I went into travel agency services, privately though, for family and friends, and then marketing these destinations. But one thing I loved about doing that job was finding out what made a destination stand out. It's one thing to want to go to Disneyland. Why Disneyland? Why not Dubai? Why not Egypt? So those little things that make each destination stand out was what, got my curiosity or my interest. And then when I started talking about, I need a formal education, to back this up. So when I'm speaking, as an expert, not just someone who just found her way into the, into the business. And I started making findings. I didn't see what I liked in the US. And I found Royal Roads University, and it was tailor-made. I was so excited about it. I said, this is exactly what I wanted. And then I, did all the other background checks and everything and found myself in Canada. I particularly like the fact that the program is a hands-on program, as in you experience it. So it's not just all classroom. I remember when we were first told by AK and Jeff that we were going to Germany, and I was like, oh my gosh, because I felt it was going to be an inconveniencing travel. But I can tell you that that was a highlight of the program, or one of the many highlights, because this was me learning so much in the class with my cohort, and then I had the opportunity now to see it through that lens. And so tomorrow I keep telling everybody that I loved my time here, And so for me, that education is not lost, because coming back to your question, that education they're all tied up together. And like major research paper that, I mentioned, that's the business angle of what I have learned, which I'm looking forward to in the future with all the connections. So that connection with destinations is it for me.
Thank you very much, Ada. Very interesting. Thank you. And I'm going to now ask each of you for some comments on some highlights from the program. So Ada, you mentioned the International Field School. So for those of you on the call, we have an International Field School that's part of the on-campus MATM. And so that's one element. So I'll go back to Gio. Are there any kind of, when you think back to the program, and it can be a course or an assignment, or just, any element at all, any comment that comes to top of your mind, but when you think about the highlights of your program, what are one or two things that come to mind, Gio?
Thank you, Rebecca. And thank you, Ada, for that, because as soon as you started talking, I started thinking about, some of the things that we learned. And one of the big things that I learned was placemaking. And before the program, I did not know the term. And, I remember when Jeff started talking about placemaking, and Brian introduced it also in Transforming Destinations, I started to think more broadly about what does this really mean? And it really, really stood out to me because, when I think back, even from my perspective coming from Jamaica, I wanted to figure out how could I shape destinations into, tourism, and to bring people in. And, at this time, and it's become so practical, because right now I'm working on, on a project where we're trying to figure out how to shape this place into a destination. And so that really, really stood out to me. And how can you make a place? So what is place making? What is place shaping? And so it really stood out to me. And Ada, I share a similar sentiment with you in terms of, the trip that we went on. We went to England, and we really thought that it would have been, an inconvenience. And as much as we thought about visiting a new place, Jeff was going to give us a lot of work. Right? And we're like, oh my God. But it really became the highlight of the trip. I did my project in, looking at street art and how people used street art to turn a destination into a tourism product. Right. And so I visited the inner cities of London, where we were looking at graffiti art, and started learning so much more about how people use the simplest of elements to turn it into a product, right? And so that really stood out to me. And one word that I learned, and I still joke about it today, is epistemology. And guys, you will love that word eventually. And so for me, Rebecca, it's placemaking that stood out for me.
That's wonderful. Thanks very much, Gio. I've got just very visual in my mind. I can see you in London looking at street art, and it's really painted that picture for me. Thank you very much.
And wondering if the cops were going to come after us.
Yeah, did you have a spray paint can?
Right. Yeah.
Thank you very much. And Erin, so as we mentioned, you're in the program at present in the blended MATM. Any highlights for you looking back so far?
Yeah. So a big highlight actually for me is learning with my cohort. Looking back, you know, I could talk about each individual course for days, but when I think about it, it's really my cohort. And if anyone watching here doesn't know what a cohort is, it's essentially your class. They're your classmates, your group of students that you're learning with. Everyone comes from all different walks of life within their career and within tourism. And it's really great to be able to build this relationship and bond with all of the students. And I think they've been such an important part of this journey because we're all in it together. I'm going to say it, sometimes it can be stressful, sometimes school is hard, but being able to turn to a classmate and say, you know, are you struggling? Like, let's, you know, what can we do to sort of get through this little hump that we're in, and really be able to motivate each other and use each other's strengths and weaknesses to help yourself. So that's been really, really great. That's, I'd say, one of the highlights for me, as well as building networks with all of my professors, being able to check in with people, with the profs at the beginning of the class, beginning of the course, and say, okay, so far it's been 1 week. This is what I'm struggling with. How can we push past this? And just the engagement and support that you have from both of these networks has been so empowering. And I'd say really, really a highlight of the course. So, or a strength of the program, if I can reword it. So,
Thank you very much, Erin. Just an aside, I'll just comment that, you know, one of our signatures at Royal Roads is called a social constructivist from a, you know, an education perspective, essentially meaning a social constructivist approach essentially means that we believe that we learn as individuals, but it's not completely an individual journey. In fact, it's very much a social journey with others, in relationship with other people, and really about building networks and learning with others and leaning on others, encouraging others, really exploring the course more deeply through a collaborative, there's usually a collaborative project in every course, and about really learning from the different perspectives of people. There's so much to learn from your colleagues in the class, as you mentioned, Erin, and that's how our courses are designed intentionally.
And just to add in, yes, for anyone who doesn't know, because I'm part of the blended program, so we had our one residency and then we're completely online. So that was also a bit of a nerve-wracking thing going into this program. You know, I did my undergrad on campus and I wasn't sure how online learning, how I was going to cope and manage with it. So yeah, definitely just to go back to reiterate on my point about the bond and relationship you're able to build with your cohort, whether it's online or hopefully eventually on campus again. You have that support no matter what method you're learning. So
yeah, that's lovely. That's lovely to hear. And so thank you all. We've looked at a few of the highlights. I know that for many, you know, a graduate program is also about networking and professional connection. So I'd like to check in with each of you on the question about the question is, did your professional network develop during the MATM? Not just professionally, but also, you know, how did your network develop during the program with us? What are the different ways that you met people and in the industry and in the university? So how about we'll start with Ada on that question. Over to you, Ada.
All right, thank you. For me, my network started with my cohort, meeting those wonderful people, different experiences, different backgrounds, and then extending it to faculty. And then we had Alejandra, who made sure you had to go out and, expand that network. And then there were a few things that were put together by the faculty as well to help students, and particularly because, as a newbie into a new country, a new city, you also want to learn more. So one way that happened was also, meeting people outside of, the school environment, either through people in the school, and just getting to know them generally. I remember some of the field times we went out with, I think it was Rose, and we went to the Black Ferry, we went to the Craig Doe, if I'm right. I can't remember. I think so, yes. That made it possible for us to go back there and meet people. We went to some restaurants with Val, and for me, that I particularly liked that environment because it was a cohort kind of setting, and it gave me the perspective of how I could bring different people together, to meet one another, share with one another, and just broaden one another's experiences. And so I kept building on that. So professionally and otherwise, I would say in the last 2 years, my network is expanding, and that's because we're given the push right from school. It's vital. It's not an option. It's very vital in succeeding in the program and even out at the end of the program.
Thank you very much, Ada. I also noticed that I was looking, you have a blog, am I correct?
Yes, I do.
Yeah, you have a blog, and I know that I was looking at your LinkedIn profile. Anyway, if anyone that would like to look up anyone on here, but I just want to mention, Ada, that I noticed that your personal marketing is really strong and really interesting. Thank you. Over to you, Gio.
It's the same as Ada's.
Yeah.
But it really started out like that within our cohort. And I will tell you guys, keep that connection. I remember when I completed the program and I started working as guest services manager at a local hotel. I hired all the people that need a job from Royal Roads to do their internships. Right? So that alumni strength is good too, So keep that connection, and also keep the connection with, the faculty and staff at Royal Roads. Keep that connection. It's been very, very good to me. I can tell you that. I'm also teaching on campus partly now too because of the faculty there. So keep that connection. One of the big things too, guys, is that you get a nice, professionally made business cards, and you give them out at all of these events that you go to, and people will call you. I didn't get so much connections and people wanting to connect on LinkedIn since that MATM program. I've been getting far more, connection requests since that that program. And so I would encourage you guys to, to reach out to the alumni community, stay in contact with the faculty, go to the networking events. It's huge. And so no, it's been a good journey in terms of keeping that connection for me. And those business cards have worked. And Ada, you came to the place I work, so it's a Craig Derrick Castle. So, yeah. So, and I'll tell you a funny story quickly. When I did one of the projects that we were required to do is to find a historic place in Canada or in Victoria where you would visit physically, and you would do an 8-minute shot. And Catherine was in charge of that, and she really worked us hard. And so don't think that the MATM program is not a lot of work, and I'll talk a little bit more about that. But it's funny that I never thought of working at the castle. And I came and did my 8-minute recording at the Craig Derrick Castle by chance, not knowing anything about it at the time. And me and my son, who was 9 at the time, he was recording me while I was standing with the castle in the background. And we did the talk, and I had to study, of course, about it. And all of a sudden, after, I don't know, it's whatever has been put out in the universe, I got a connection from the Craig Derrick Castle. And it was a LinkedIn connection. And some months after that, I got an interview for the Craig Derrick Castle. And my son thinks I'm the real deal because I went to school at a castle and I now work at a castle. So tell him he used to call me your majesty. So but those connections, guys, those connections are important, and put that out into the universe, So thanks, Rebecca.
Oh, you're welcome. You just never know, do you? You make a connection and you don't know. And sometimes that connection will become something very meaningful to you in your career, in your life, 6 months down the road or 3 weeks. So, you just never know kind of how influential a certain connection can be, not only for you, but for that person as well, reciprocally. So great story, Gio. I love the your castle, collecting castles.
Right. Yeah.
How about your network, Erin? How have you developed your network so far in the MATM?
Yeah, I sort of wanted to talk about something that you just mentioned.
Sure.
About your network. You think about networking, you're looking for a job. It's not just about looking for a job. It's just about building these connections and relationships with people. And like you mentioned, that opportunity might not be immediate, but if you keep up with these networks and these different people, whether they're from your class, whether they're from an industry networking event, just to learn about, what are people in the industry looking for, these opportunities might come up in the future. And it's really about being present and in the moment when you're connecting with people. So it's really important, I think. And I definitely say that my network's expanded through this program, through, everyone from your classmates to different industry professionals you'll meet, and through all of your profs having such vast backgrounds and experiences, it might just give you the tools or the know-how to figure out what you want to do. Or it's really important just to be open-minded when you're meeting new people, because you never know what it might bring in the future.
Thank you. Yes, great advice. You just never know. Definitely. Thank you. And so a question for all of you is, I'm thinking about, everyone on our call, all listening into this conversation. And I think if when I've been at that stage and I've been looking at a potential, what program to take or the next steps, I'm always interested. I've been interested to know, okay, well, what's it like in a class? So any comments at all? So say, for example, I start a course either face-to-face or online. What can I expect? Do you have anything you think would be helpful for those on our call to know about being in a course or starting a course, or any tidbits about the experience and anything at all? Over to you.
I will start by saying be open-minded and be ready to learn even from your classmates. You may think that they may be annoying sometimes. Experiences shared may seem irrelevant, but if you come in with that open mind and a lot of patience, you will learn something even within the cohort, not just your faculty or your instructor, something like that. And that makes learning more enriching, in my perspective.
Well, I just want to add that, Ada, you know, I was talking with a colleague not long ago, and I was talking about my experience in education, and this probably is what other people might share, is that when I was at school, and even quite recently doing my doctorate, is that it was a very individual experience. I don't think I did any team-based learning throughout my undergraduate degree and graduate degree. I didn't do any. And so for many of you on the call, that might be you might share that experience with me, that, you know, when you think about your formal education, you think about it as, you know, working on your own, you know, it's kind of an individual challenge. And with our MATM, to your point, Ada, it's, yes, you have to think about your individual work, you know, there are things that are individual assignments and assessments, but there's also that collective assessment, and also that support that we want to generate for you in the course, where you're not thinking I'm just independent on my own going through this course. It's like, who is here? How can I learn from those people, to your points? Gio, do you have any reflection on what Ada has shared there and my comments there?
Yes, for sure. And you know, we had a discussion yesterday, and you know, I really reflected on it, and in terms of, you know, the people that are in a cohort, and so many people come in with a broad range of experience. And I really like that. I really like that people are at a different stage in their journey. And because there's so much opportunity for learning, you know, so, you know, one of the tidbits that I would, you know, give is to open yourself up to the others in the course, and be willing to be vulnerable, you know, so to learn from others. I was the oldest person in my cohort, so I was referred to as uncle. And so you had people who were in their, you know, who were in their early 20s. And, you know, one of the things I've started to really resonate with me now is unconscious bias. And I've been looking at that for the last couple of months. And, you know, you go in with these preconceived notions, but if you really open up and allow, you know, that cohort in your space, there's so much opportunity for learning. And I really believe, and it's been sunk in by, you know, the program that I've done at Royal Roads, and I keep harping on it, is tourism really does divide, you know, barriers. It really breaks down those divides, you know, so it breaks down those barriers. And, you know, if we really consciously start looking at using tourism in that full context, you know, where in my class, and we were on campus, there were perhaps about 8 different countries represented, and several different cultures, you know, and we were able to break down some barriers, but it was by being vulnerable and opening up and being able to, you know, to share your experiences and make some mistakes and learn from them, you know. So one of the things that I would encourage is to not be afraid to, you know, to explore those cultural barriers and seek ways to, you know, to break them down and to understand each, you know, each person that you're in class with. And I tell you that it will strengthen that degree at the end of the day. Yeah.
Thank you, Gio. Yeah, I appreciate your point about vulnerability there as well. That's very interesting to think about in terms of being a learner and in a graduate program. Erin, you've completed your program online. So if you don't mind, just directing to you, can you speak to the online environment? Because I'm sure there are people on the call that may not have taken many courses online or have questions about what it's like to be an online learner.
Yeah, absolutely. So one thing that I think is important to mention too is each course, there might be a similar structure, but each course is really delivered in a unique way. So a big part of each course is doing online discussion forums. So it involves academic, but also, you know, conversation. You mix academic and conversational, and it's just primarily with your classmates. You know, the profs will pop in, but you're mostly communicating with your classmates, learning from each other, as Adam mentioned. And most classes, depending on the professor, most classes have like a synchronous component. So you have a weekly or bi-weekly lecture or hour conversation with your class, even just going over assignments and projects. And yeah, so I guess going into each new course, being open-minded and really understanding the structure of the course and how it's being delivered. And yeah, I guess that's, yeah.
No, that's very helpful, Erin. Thank you very much. I think to your point, that online courses are like on-campus courses in the sense that they're each have their individual flavor and format. You know, it's not something that is a standard design for every single course you do. And of course, that brings the opportunity to be doing different things and different approaches to learning that really stretch your skills and keep things interesting, right? So thank you very much, everyone. I'm looking at the time and it's 8:47, and I would like to make sure that some people on the call may have some questions they might like to ask you directly that we haven't covered, or things that they might want to check in on. So I'd like to open it up to everyone on the call. If you'd like to, you can either just use your mic or put a message in the chat that I can ask the panel here. So we'll just wait a moment while everyone has a chance to think and translate. We've covered quite a few different areas, but is there anything that we've missed that you think that would be of interest to you to ask directly of a panel member?
One thing that I don't know if anyone has questions about is the completion options.
Yes.
While waiting for some questions, I don't know about my fellow panel here, but I completed, or am completing, the major research project. And at the beginning of the program, this is a really intimidating, big final project that you're doing, but we really get set up for success with the research prep course, research methodology. So you have so much support through your completion option, whether you choose a capstone thesis or MRP. So that's really major. It's a big thing at the beginning, but it gets broken down into these manageable stages. And I think a question came in, so I just thought that was an important thing to mention.
That's terrific. I see a hand up from Amit, and I'm going to come to you, Amit, in 1 second. I would just like to ask Erin, can you just let everyone know the title of your MRP project, or the focus of your topic?
Yeah. So my topic is how tourism destinations and travel behaviors are changing as a result of COVID. And I'm specifically focusing it on the remote destination of Port Renfrew, since I'll be moving there within the month for an internship. So it's very aligned, and it's very relevant, and you can tailor your project to what you're interested in or what's happening in the real world. So it's very
fantastic. I hear you're going to have Wi-Fi there too.
Yeah.
All right, over to Amit. Amit, thank you for raising your hand. Oh, Amit, can you just I think your mic is off. There we go. Thank you. Hello.
Hi, how are you doing?
Great, thank you.
Okay, yes, I'll just give you a brief description. I'm actually from Livingstone, Zambia. It's the home of Victoria Falls here, and we have a big tourism spot here. And, you know, I've been looking over, I have a project here for tourism. I actually have a lodge and a backpackers, and I wanted to get more experience and more knowledge about hospitality and tourism. That's the reason I'm thinking of choosing the same course you offer here. My question was very interesting. I like the way you guys work together, the team working you have, the way people connect with each other. But my question, another question I had was, what, apart from academia, what other around Royal Roads, what's there to offer in terms of social life, in terms of Victoria itself? Does it have a lot of outdoor, so apart from the academia area, I would like to know what else it has to offer around Royal Roads. And I understand the campus is in Colwood somewhere there, isn't it?
Correct. The campus is in Colwood on the West Shore. But I'm going to, how about we answer that, have each person here on the panel give you a couple of comments on the highlights for them on. Yes, great question. Thank you very much. Appreciate that. Nice to see you.
That's a very good question. And I'll take the first shot of it because I was on campus largely. And Amit, I will tell you that it's one of the most beautiful properties, our school campus, that you will ever visit, bar none. And they didn't pay me to say that. So it was a real treat. And not only on the Royal Roads campus, I mean, that learning, I took my lunch outside every day on the back lawns just to be on the outside. But your specific question was what else was out there? If you love the outdoors, that's the best place to be. I'm not very big on hiking, especially because they're bears, and Tanya keeps trying to get me to go on hikes with bears, but it's safe, and she knows what she's doing. But lots of hikes, lots of beaches, lots of trails, lots of forests. It is the outdoor place, of BC and certainly of Canada. So if that's what you're more in tune with, certainly, and you don't even have to go far. All of that is on the campus too, right? So, certainly lots of things to do. I'm a big city guy, and I thought that coming to Victoria would have slowed me down a bit, but it's grown on me, and I don't think that I'm going back to the big city. It's so much things to do, and especially where Erin will be going, Port Renfrew, and I recently went to Tofino, which is, I don't surf, but surfing city, but lots more to do. So don't despair, Amit. lots to do on the outdoors. I hope that answered your question.
Yes. Sorry, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi. Yeah. Thanks. I do a lot of outdoor here in Zambia. We have a lot of actually a lot of gorges to hike, and the Victoria Falls itself has so many trails and stuff. So that was one of the questions I had for myself. But I have heard, I used to live in Oregon before as well, so in the Redwoods area for a few years. So I hear it's very similar to the outdoor, in Canada as well. So that's the reason I chose the Royal Roads, is because of the outdoors and the extra social stuff you can do as well.
Really, Rebecca, I think you need 3 hours for a session like this.
Yeah.
Rebecca, there's some questions also in the chat. What is capstone? And I think that you will probably address that outside. Somebody is saying that they're 21. Yes, I had people in my class who was 21. So yes. And there are some things that you can do if you don't have enough credits. There are some avenues that you can come in. Rebecca mentioned that earlier in terms of even the graduate certificate. So, those questions can be answered also in a little bit more depth, and AK can provide more background for that. There was somebody else who had a question too, Rebecca.
Yes, thank you, Gio. I think, why don't we, so Amit, if you don't mind, we're going to go to the next question and to our panel, just to make sure we cover a few more questions. So over to Kelly. Hi, Kelly. What question do you have for the panel?
I'm just wondering, is there any Indigenous content? Like, is there an Indigenous tourism type elective? My background is Indigenous Academic. I'm doing my MBA right now, and it's really revitalized my interest in doing work. And I also have a little bit of experience in tourism expansion with cabin and RV resorts. And I think tourism is the place to go for, Indigenous need to really strongly consider tourism development, and that's why I'm interested in this program.
Over to the panel. I'm interested in you sharing your experience in the different courses with respect to this question.
If someone has more to say, then they can take over the mic here. But me personally, I can't say I've have too much background on Indigenous tourism, but one of the gentlemen in my program is actually specializing in Indigenous tourism in campgrounds. And so there's a lot of support for Indigenous tourism. I'm not sure how many elective courses there are, but I would definitely say yes, there's some great courses to tie Indigenous tourism, Indigenous learning with tourism. Yeah.
And more, Erin, we're getting into Indigenous tourism, and I think it's a real opportunity for research and to bring. What's important is to bring the Indigenous community into the conversations, and I think more and more conversations are coming into focus where Indigenous tourism is concerned. But if you are interested in pursuing that avenue, so much opportunities. And one of the things that I would say is to bring those people into the conversation, and that project, or whichever your inclination is, will turn into something special.
That's a great point, Gio. Thank you for bringing that.
I'd like to. I'm just going to add that we've just actually we've just completed a quick review of Indigenous content across all of our courses, and we're going to be summarizing that. And there's certainly a push to have an Indigenous approaches to tourism course for our MATM, and that actually is our priority for the school. Also, we have courses that are across the university in different aspects of looking at Indigenous ways of knowing, or looking at Indigenous studies in different approaches. It could be through the School of Communications or Environment, and those are opportunities as an elective. So I just want to mention that, to Erin's point, that the program does give you the opportunity to really pursue your specific interests to some degree, and particularly in the research project aspect of the program. So thank you very much for that question. I see that there's some information too here in the chat for you from Rhonda as well. So yes, do follow up with us as well if you'd like more specifics. We're happy to share that. So just looking at the time, everyone, it's 8:58. And I think it's time for us to wrap up our fantastic conversation today. I mean, I'm saying fantastic. I've just loved it. So I really enjoyed talking with the panel, and I hope everyone on the call has something to take away from this. I'm sure you do, from this conversation. Do follow up with us, and I'm going to pass things over to Christy now. Thank you very much, Christy.
Thank you so much. Yeah, that was an amazing discussion. I feel like I learned a lot more about the program just from sitting in on the background here too. And if we didn't get to your question, I know that we've been helping answer them in the chat box, but you're always welcome to reach out to us. I'm going to go through a few slides just to show some of the final resources that you can use to reach out to us. So some key dates for if you are looking to apply to the program. Our next intake for the on-campus and blended options is August 16th, 2021, and the application deadline is May 16th, 2021. And for the on-campus only, which we're waiting to see with public health guidelines how that will change. We've been adapting a lot of our courses to be online right now, but as of now, the application deadline for that one is October 1st, 2021. December 1st, 2021 is the start date, whether we're able to have that on campus or have that online as well. And if you are applying as an international student, it's good to know that around 6 months is a good amount of time to get your application in so you can apply for all the proper study permits and get all of those things organized. Like I said, if you do have any follow-up questions, we have an amazing enrollment team who can help you. If you are applying as a Canadian student, you can contact them by the top contact there, or if you'd be applying as an international student, we have the international enrollment team's email address there as well. So Rhonda is an amazing example of our help we've had in the chat box today, and we have a whole team that's there to support you as well with whatever your educational journey will look like for you. And with that, I just want to say thank you again to everybody who provided your questions in the chat box today, or who got on the mic and asked some questions for our panelists as well. And to everyone who contributed in today's session, all of our help in the chat box, from AK, from Kelsey, Rhonda, Imera. It really takes a village to put on these sessions, and we really hope you got a lot out of it today. And as well as to Gio, Ada, and Erin, thank you again for contributing, and Rebecca for moderating our panel today.
Oh, that was fun. Thank you. So much fun. What a great start to the day.
Alrighty, have a good day, everyone.
Thank you, guys. Take care.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye.
So much.